Every NFL team's success hinges on quarterback play, and the Cowboys are no exception. 2020, Dak was injured in Week 5. The season was a disaster. 2021, Dak played good. The Cowboys played good. 2022, the same thing. Dak played great. I would say they had a great regular season. And then in 2024, it kind of all fell apart together. The Cowboys weren't great. Dak wasn't great. And then Dak got injured, and the Cowboys were terrible. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about what that means for the 2025 season, what we should expect from Dak Prescott, and if the Cowboys' move at backup quarterback could potentially save the season. This is part 5 of my Cowboys roster breakdown. Let's get into it. Going into training camp, I feel like it's pretty cut and dry on what the depth chart is. Dak is obviously quarterback 1, and then I think it's Joe Milton at quarterback 2, and then Will Grier, he's at quarterback 3. That's just based on how the snaps and reps have been divided between OTAs and minicamp, and to start out in Oxnard, I do expect it to stay that way until further notice, unless Joe Milton just has terrible practices and Will Grier is balling out or vice versa. I expect it to stay that way into the regular season, and I'll explain that a little bit later in this video. So let's start with the obvious one and talk about Dak Prescott. Believe it or not, Dak is going into his 10th NFL season. He was drafted when I was just 16 years old. I had just gotten my license. But since then, he's never had a losing season in Dallas. In a season where he played a majority of the games, he's never had a losing season. Never been below 500. And before week 1 of last year, he signed a 4-year, $240 million extension. Hours before the Browns game, Dallas made him the highest paid player in league history at $60 million per year. Talking about Dak is like talking politics, even for Cowboys fans. Some people think he's great. Some people think he's terrible. I don't feel like there's any middle ground on what people think about him, and maybe that's just the world of being the quarterback in Dallas. But regardless of what you think, Dak was a second-team All-Pro in 2023, and he should have won the MVP in my very humble opinion, but that's neither here nor there. The Cowboys have always been above 500 in contention every season Dak is healthy. Whatever you think about playoff performances, we can argue that, injury history, it doesn't matter in the context of Dallas is competitive when 4 is on the field. That's a fact. That's not an opinion. We can debate other stuff, but Dallas is a team that you can actually watch and enjoy when number 4 is out there. Now, we all know how the 2024 season ended up, and I don't really need to give you guys that entire spiel again, but it wasn't good. Dak wasn't good. The wide receivers weren't good. The offensive line, the defense, it was all bad. But when you're the quarterback, you get a heavy part of the blame and a heavy part of the praise when things go good or bad. Ultimately, we didn't get to see Dak finish last year. He went down with a season-ending hamstring injury. But I think this offseason, it felt like Dallas did a few things to help their $60 million quarterback, something we screamed for last offseason. They kind of did it in 2025. They hired a head coach that Dak likes in Brian Schottenheimer. They brought in 2 very, very good offensive minds that have had success with their ground games, Clayton Adams and Connor Riley. They traded for George Pickens, a legitimate number 2 wide receiver. They drafted Jaden Blue in the 5th round, someone with some speed. They drafted an interior offensive lineman to replace a Hall of Famer in Zach Martin at 12 overall, something that should help their run game and hold up the front of that pocket. Now, was all of that enough, comparable to what other teams around the league typically do in an offseason? That's a video for another day, but they did do some things to make this team better, in my opinion. Some people think they're going to be the same team. I do think they got more Dak friendly, and we should see a better Dak Prescott in 2025. And that's kind of where we are. People expect him to play at a Pro Bowl / All-Pro level. And they should, because I do. That's the standard if you're going to be the highest paid quarterback in the league. Regardless of what we think about the offseason moves, he has to play well if this team is going to go anywhere. And when you're making $60 million per year as the highest paid player in NFL history, it is expected that you play good and elevate your team. And for the most part, I believe that Dak has done that over his career. I like Dak. I think he's consistently ran a good offense. He's been accurate. He's had great games. He's been great over an entire season. And I don't think we should expect anything else but a great year from 4. And I think everyone's kind of on board with that idea. No excuses. He got the big deal. He got the wide receiver too, got the offensive coaches that we think can help him succeed. There's no excuses in 2025. So I expect to see a better version of Dak this year than what we saw last. And if we don't, that's when things become pretty in Dallas. Like, I'm worried because of that contract, $240 million. There's a no trade clause. There's tons of guarantees, tons of dead money when Dallas does decide to move on or Dak decides to move on. Like, you're in a tough spot if Dak doesn't play well. The Cowboys' next 2 to 3 years hinge on Prescott and how he plays. Now, I'm not with this BS that Fox Sports has talked about on their channels, with this being a make it or break it year for Dak. That's completely ridiculous. He just signed that major deal. Dallas is so tied up. They're attached at the hip with him, and that's the choice that they made, waiting to sign him to a long-term deal and then ultimately doing it before the 2024 season. Fox Sports is putting out that this is make it or break it for... It doesn't make any sense. I just reacted to a video of LaShawn McCoy on my Patreon talking about how this is Dak's last year, and LaShawn McCoy thinks the media doesn't hate on Dak enough. He doesn't get enough blame. Blah, 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 blah. Probably the most ridiculous segment I've ever heard on one of those shows, and I don't watch them often, but I reacted to it and gave my full thoughts in a full 15 minutes, so if you want to check that out, it's on my Patreon. We've already had numerous people sign up and watch that video. There's going to be more content going out on there this weekend and next week, so go to the link in the description or the top comment of this video and check out my Patreon. Sign up. There's 3 different tiers, $1 all the way up to $10, so if you could, go check that out. And while I don't think that this year is a make it or break it for Dak, like if he has a bad year, the Cowboys aren't just simply moving on, because they can't. But this next season does kind of lay the groundwork for what we should expect over the next 2 to 3 years. It's not a make or break year, but I think it's a make or break contract. The Joneses, the front office, they've decided to attach themselves to Dak, and that's what it's going to be. I think 2025 lays the groundwork for what we should expect moving forward. Like, Dallas isn't cutting him if he's terrible. So I've talked about Dak's health throughout the draft process. I have consistently harped on it, and the people inside the Cowboys building must have been thinking a lot about it too, because they watch the channel. I know you're watching, Jerry. 2 major injuries, 2 surgeries. He had the hand injury that held him out for a month or so back in 2021, and at this point, he's not getting any younger. He's in his 10th NFL season, and that's why I consistently said over and over, get a good developmental quarterback 2. And Dallas did just that. Quarterback 2 in Joe Milton III. They acquired him from the New England Patriots along with a 7th round pick in exchange for a 2025 5th rounder. Trading for Milton versus trading for a rookie quarterback was a much better deal, in my opinion. You got a guy that has at least 1 NFL game under his belt, a full season in an NFL building. He was a 6th round pick in 2024, and while he didn't play a ton, at least he's been around the league, and he is a little bit older than some of the guys that came out this year. Now, the Patriots drafted Drake May and then turned around and drafted Joe Milton in the 6th round after taking a quarterback top 3. But they didn't want any kind of competition, whispers about Milton being better than their 3rd overall pick, so they decided to send him to Dallas. I don't think they sent him to Dallas because they were just like, we got to get whatever we can for this guy. I think they just did it to keep things calm for a guy they invested so much in Drake May. Now, the 1 regular season game that Milton played in, he played extremely well. He completed 22 of 29 passes for 241 yards. He had 1 touchdown, plus 16 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown. And I will kind of footnote it with this, if people like to say it, but it was the Bills' backups in Week 18. I will say, who really cares? Everyone on the field was an NFL player. Already made like 2 or 3 Milton breakdown videos. So if you want to, go check those out there somewhere on the channel. But for today, I want to talk about what this trade means for 2025 and beyond, and maybe break down the Cowboys' thought process, or what I believe they're thinking. Because Milton is going to be here for a while. It's just his second year of his rookie deal. He's going to get to sit behind Dak, be in the building, in the meeting rooms. He's already a little bit older, like I said, so he's really mature in the way that he goes about his work. And that's not even mentioning the overall physical prowess that this dude has. He's like 6'5", 240 pounds. He's got a rocket launcher attached to his shoulder. He's an incredible athlete. And in the one chance that he did get to play in the NFL, he kind of balled out. Taking draft capital out of the equation because they didn't give up much, I do think Milton is quarterback 2 right now. We'll talk about quarterback 3 for just a small part of this video, but Milton is quarterback 2 until further notice. I think about it like this, right? And this is going to be a little bit of a rant. They have had Cooper Rush at quarterback 2 for years. A steady Yeti, isn't going to win you games, isn't going to propel the team forward. He's going to take care of the ball, and he's going to be as good as the team around him is. Everything is limited as a quarterback. He had a 500 record last year when he played in Dallas. I mean, he won some games because the team won some games, if that makes sense. But Dallas let him walk and let him go to the Baltimore Ravens. He didn't get a ton of money. He got like $5 million per year. They've consistently paid that over the past half decade. So they intentionally let this guy walk and traded for a guy with all of the talent you'd ever want at the quarterback position. All of the physical tools. The problem is, the guy you traded for is inconsistent at times. The accuracy, the decision-making, they can hinder his ability to operate an offense game over game. When you look at the NFL, look at backup quarterbacks around the league, look at the traits that these teams like at quarterback 2. It's usually a guy that's extremely safe. They're not good quarterbacks by any stretch of the imagination. They'll never be like a top 32 guy in the league that's going to be starting consistently, but they won't lose you games. They're going to take care of the ball, but if the team plays well, then they can win you games if you're in a pinch. If your starter's not there, they can win. That's why the Eagles had Kenny Pickett last year. That's why the Patriots had Jacoby Brissett behind Drake May when he got to play. Like, just having a guy that's like a steady Yeti isn't going to throw for 500 yards ever, but they can get you through week to week. If you need a guy to play for a month, you just need that guy to go 500. You don't need to go 4-0, and you don't need to blow every team out week over week until your starter gets back. It's not what the quarterback 2 spot is. For the Cowboys, though, they're not following that line of thinking. They said they were tired of that shit, tired of watching a quarterback 2, watching the most average of average quarterbacks play. Because my thought process is, why let the quarterback 2 ruin your draft or ruin your season, right? Why do we need a guy, if Dak gets hurt in week 5, to go 500 and ruin your draft spot? Like, I want to win games, or I want to be drafted in the top 5. You use Joe Milton as an example. It's perfect. And I'm not putting bad mojo out there on Dak, I swear, right? But let's say that Dak goes down in week 8 again. Milton has to finish out the season. Dallas is at 4-4 when it happens. On one hand, Milton could go out there and dominate. All of the physical tools are on display. He's dialing teams up. He's throwing 80-yard bombs to CD and Pickens. My goodness, it's so much fun. Look, we're actually having fun. We're dominating all of these teams. But on the other hand, let's say that the floor is low and it's really bad. He looks like a 6th-round pick. The scouting report of him coming out of Tennessee was right. He's throwing 3 to 4 interceptions a game. He's missing easy throws. The offense can't move. Dallas is getting steamrolled. Guess what? Now you have a top 5 pick because you just finished 5-12. Oh, well, you got a top 5 pick. Milton didn't work out. You got to see what he had, and then you move on. You kind of see what I'm saying? Like, let's go low floor, high ceiling guy. Like, especially a quarterback too. Your quarterback gets hurt. Why not have somebody that's at least fun to watch? That's why I kept saying last year, why is Trey Lance not out there? At least you would figure out what you have in him while also probably losing games. Like, I don't need my backup quarterback to go 500 if Dak's out for the rest of the year. So that was my little rant. I just had to talk about it because that's my hypothesis on why Dallas made this move. It doesn't follow the trend of the league, and it doesn't follow the trend of what they've done over the past couple of years. But every year that they've done that, it just hasn't been good. It hasn't been fun. But I also think that they made it because there's a chance that Milton is good. I'm going to say it so quietly so no one hears me. Don't tell anybody I said this, but maybe Milton is the future. Maybe they think that he's the future. Those tools could be developed into an absolute stud. Call me crazy. You can call me delusional all you want. That's fine. If that happens, though, I don't want to live in reality, okay? Crazier things have happened, though. A quarterback from Mississippi State taken in the 4th round has made like $400 million with the Cowboys. An undrafted free agent, Tony Romo, got a ton of money, too. Crazier things have happened, but I'm whispering. That doesn't go out of the comment section, all right? So, finally, let's talk about quarterback 3. And maybe I'm not going to spend enough time talking about this guy. Maybe he's quarterback 2. I don't see a way that this happens. I think Grier is more so a veteran presence. He was a 3rd-round pick back in 2019. He re-signed with the Cowboys active roster in January after playing for the Eagles for a little bit. And since 2019, he's really had limited action in the NFL. He's only played in 2 career games, and he's got 4 interceptions and 0 touchdowns. That's not even the low ceiling, high floor guy that I think they could be looking for. I don't really see much of a competition between Milton and Grier unless Milton is just wild all over the place, can't move the ball. He looks terrible in the preseason. So let's just go ahead and end the video on that. Once again, guys, I have a video over on Patreon. More stuff's getting released. I just made a post over there that is super interesting, and if you're a Patreon member, only you get it. So if you want to, hit the link down below in the description or the top comment on today's video. I really appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you soon. Training camp, please get here. I love you all.